It was 2010. YouTube wasn't filled with pointless drama, 3-minute ads, and annoying family channels. YouTube was simply just YouTube. Quite fittingly, this was around the time that Faze was made. Faze Sniping first appeared on the YouTube homepage on May 30th, 2010 with 3 OG members, and they took YouTube by storm, amassing 1 million subscribers in 2012, so only 2 years. And believe it or not, 1 million subscribers back then was literally unheard of. As the years went on, Faze became more and more prominent, signing some of their most iconic members, winning tournaments, and eventually splitting the Faze clan into 2 camps. The gaming side, which focused on competitive gaming, winning tournaments, and pretty much boosting the Faze image throughout the world. And then you've got the content creating side, your Faze Rugs and all the other guys who aim to promote Faze as a brand on YouTube. It was a perfect plan. This way, they could control the 2 most powerful niches on social media at the time. And it worked. Things were moving at an abnormal pace. By 2014, the somewhat CEO at the time, and I use air quotes because there really was no corporate structure at the time, was Faze Temper and COO Faze Banks, who had moved into and created the first Faze house in Plainview, New York, which gave birth to something they'd never expect. However, despite Faze's steady growth, nothing monumental would happen to the company until 2015. Coincidentally, the same year that a man named Sebastian Goertz decided to invest in Faze, and he brought former record executive Lee Trink to act as his advisor. This addition of a somewhat corporate system gave birth to a whole new side of Faze, a side that would eventually lead to their downfall. Merchandise, signing esport teams, numerous content creators, and a few Faze houses later, and Faze had reached the upper echelons of YouTube by 2018. They were getting hundreds of millions of views, an army of creators, their own skins in almost every game, and multi-million-dollar brand deals. But this is where Faze's destiny splits into 2 equally destructive aspects that came to bite them back. When talking about Faze's downfall, there are 2 sides we really have to focus on: the business aspects and the inner relationship aspects, aka the beef. However, there's a point in time where the aspects of business and friendship interlinked, and that's where the true downfall of Faze began. As 2018 came around, Faze decided to have a change in management, with a man called Greg Salko becoming the president of Faze and Trink becoming the CEO. And this is when everything changed. To truly understand their downfall, you have to understand that before Faze ever collapsed, they had actually made an insane amount of money and conquered almost every space on the internet. It started in 2019, where Faze went ham on their signings, getting musicians like Ray J, DJ Paul, Offset, Sway Lee, or even basketball players like Meyers Leonard, Josh Hart, Ben Simmons, Jamal Murray, or footballers, skateboarders, radio hosts. Almost every celebrity industry began investing in Faze, with some of these investors even joining Faze later on. In 2020, Faze went ever deeper into the business side, getting their hands on a $22.7 million investment loan from a private lender, and later on announcing their co-ownership of the food supplement company CTRL. And by the end of 2020, Faze were worth almost $320 million. Moving on to 2021, Faze were just progressively headed for bigger things. They became the first esports team to be featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated, but this was nothing compared to what they'd do later on in that year. It all started with a bold move. Back in October 2021, Faze Clan announced their intention to go public. This decision was packed with promise, offering the chance to be listed on the stock exchange, opening doors to new ventures like gambling, virtual dining, and subscription models. Even though taking this route is often a quick cash grab that doesn't work in the long run, there is still a way to go about doing this. But instead of the traditional route, Faze's CEO Lee Trink teamed up with Dan Shribman from B. Riley Financial to use a special purpose acquisition company, or SPAC. This method meant creating a shell company, aka a dormant or inactive company used as a vehicle for financial investments, to raise money and merge with Faze and bypass the tedious paperwork. As part of the merger, Faze raised over $100 million and aimed to boost their valuation to a staggering $1 billion. Big names like Pitbull and Snoop Dogg joined the roster, adding star power, but there was a catch. Most investors only made non-binding agreements to buy the stock once it went public, basically leaving a shitty safety net because it meant that investors could pull out at any time. Now, fast forward to July 20th, 2022, Faze debuted on Nasdaq, with stock prices initially fluctuating but finding success. By August, shares peaked at around $20, and Faze became the first esports organization valued at $1 billion. However, trouble was brewing. By September, $70 million in private investments fell through, and 92% of the merger's shareholders cashed out. Shares plummeted to under $5, hitting $1.78 in November, Faze's dream was unraveling. Things only got worse. Faze even laid off 20% of its staff and stocks hit a new low. By February 15th, 2023, the stock was at 76 cents, and in March, Nasdaq issued a deficiency letter threatening to delist Faze's shares unless they could comply with the $1 minimum bid price. But whilst Faze was getting absolutely destroyed on the corporate end, there was turmoil inside the group. You see, whilst the corporate CEOs were dropping every last penny out of Faze, this obviously got to the OG members who publicly expressed their frustration on a constant basis. But what didn't help was the heads of Faze also messing with the recruitment. Remember when Faze began signing celebrities back in 2018? Well, they'd make a habit of doing this, and not only that, the members they'd hire had no experience in gaming or the culture, and most of them would get paid more than members that had been in Faze for years. Which brings us to some of the most devastating beefs for Faze, which include people like Faze Rain and Faze Tico. Rain, a prominent Faze member that was there since the beginning, took to social media to expose what he saw as the organization's missteps. One of the most explosive controversies involved Twitch streamer and Stranger Things actress Grace Van Dien, also known as Bluefile. Her signing with Faze sparked mixed reactions, especially after Rain leaked the news claiming she was chosen for her celebrity status rather than gaming skills. On May 18th, Rain revealed Faze's plans to sign Grace, mocking her for not knowing what a trick shot was. Over a week later, Faze officially announced Grace as a content creator. In her announcement, Grace expressed her desire to be a positive voice for women in gaming, but Rain's allegations cast a long shadow, with critics arguing Faze had abandoned its roots. The situation escalated into a public feud on Twitch and Twitter, with even members like Faze Banks getting involved. Grace responded to the backlash, calling out the misogyny in the gaming community and within Faze itself. She pointed out that there was no such uproar when Snoop Dogg joined last year. And on May 30th, Rain and Grace met to resolve their issues, but the discussion turned heated and Rain posted the video.
Fair. Using me as a poster child for your hate sucks.
Well, it's not
when I
using
didn't
you
know.
as a poster child. I can see how you feel that way. I fully understand, but that's not my intentions at all. No matter who it was, whoever they decided to use as a token for that recruit, I would have said the same thing. Doesn't matter who it was.
Which is because
right?
there's no
Could have been a
face
guy,
for
could
the
have been a
people
girl.
that you hate. Because there's no face,
It's
there's
harder.
no logo.
Yeah.
Because there's no face, your fans see that and they see my face and they're like, okay, well, we'll direct all our hate that he has at her.
There's not 1% chance that they thought it was going to go well for
but
you,
it's
but they
still
did it
not
anyways.
deserved of me.
For sure, but that's why I said it's never about you. If you watch my original video, I said.
But I'm getting death threats and people have found my number.
Yeah.
I don't owe you an explanation, actually.
And I owe you an explanation.
Macho, tell Vera that I'm not doing this video, and if they release anything, that I'm leaving, please.
But as you can see, things didn't go too well. But it was clashes like these that highlighted Faze's internal turmoil and the departure from their core values. But this isn't the only instance of this. In that same year, another big Faze member, Faze Tico, had a similar problem where he said,
I just owe you something because it's such a fucking privilege to be in Faze, right? I've been in this fucking gray zone where like, I'm not the owners of these guys because like, no, obviously I'm not nearly as important as these guys, but I'm also not getting paid for anything I'm doing. I'm just in the middle. All of these years, we always hear talent first, talent first. Talent is the most important thing. No, we're not. You've always showed us otherwise. You've always showed us that these recruits that you make, the celebrities who get more, like Snoop Dogg and his son has more money and more shares than a lot of Faze members who were here from fucking day one.
But the most controversial moment that occurred within Faze recently was their quote-unquote reboot. It started with Faze making a tweet titled Control-Alt-Delete with a cryptic video that outlined 14 Faze members. To everyone's shock, including Faze members, they'd announced that anyone not listed on the video was essentially cut from Faze. Some of the kicked even being age-old members like Faze Blaze. Some of the members and fans were split. There were those who were devastated. I mean, imagine just getting into Faze and then suddenly being cut and finding out through a tweet. But there were those who felt it was necessary and had made peace with it. So far, it seems as though Faze Banks is acting as the head of the clan, and they're slowly working on signing carefully selected members with 4 that we know so far. But if anything is learnt, it's that Faze clan lost sight of what made them iconic. They traded their roots and original members for corporate ambitions. Their eagerness to become a corporation, neglecting their core values and loyal fan base, led to their downfall. Faze clan's story serves as a cautionary tale. In the pursuit of greatness, they forgot what made them great, and in abandoning their essence, they faced the ultimate fall.